All right, so I don't know where to start, so I'm gonna start here. Let's start with some gratitude. My name's Ty, and I am grateful to be here speaking with you today. Um, I'm grateful that you have chosen to sit here with me and listen to what I have to say, and greatly appreciate that. Second, but first in my heart, I want to thank my wife for being a beacon of light and hope and love, support, and as much patience as she could bear with me. I'm grateful for my daughter Nicole. She's awesome. Grateful for my son Sage. He is magnificent. I'm also grateful for a friend of mine who encouraged me to get on this podcast today. Her name's Melissa. She told me about a million reasons to why I need to do this, compared to maybe the two reasons that I had not to do this. So I wanted to start with some gratitude today, and I think that's a very important spot. Oh, also, um, I have really awesome in-laws. I don't know about the rest of you out there, but my in-laws they're pretty badass, and they've always told me that I need to do something like this, and here we go. All right. So today I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about your dreams. What do you think of that makes you light up inside? That makes you truly happy? Uh, since you can't respond and this isn't an interactive podcast so much, I want to start, if that's okay. My dream is to be an agent of change. My dream is to help be a small part of creating a world of tolerance and love and respect and mutuality, being able to agree to disagree without there being like insane conflict. And with the way that things have been going for the past week, it hasn't been great. And now we're at the point to where the unrest is only getting greater. People are a lot more pissed off. People are a lot more defensive. And even myself, like I got on this like ego kick today with everything that's been happening. And when I say ego kick, I just mean like there's this little voice in my head and it's like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do this. If you're about this, you need to do that. Like that type of thing. And so I went on this ego trip today, and we had the the launch of the dragon today, and I wish the astronauts Godspeed on their journey. Um, and I wish nothing but a successful trip for them, as they would make their way back home. I know that their families are excited, but they're worried as shit, and so I want to send my thoughts and prayers out to them as well. Um, but with that being said, I went on Twitter today. I'll just be real. I went on Twitter today, and I tweeted as much as I can in what I thought what was the most clever way. Like there was this hashtag, um, launch America, and I've been watching all the protests, and I wanted to be an active in the protests, but uh, um, regardless of my desire, I had to stand up and be counted, or at least that's what my ego was telling me. And so what I did was I decided to hold on, let me turn this. So I decided to go on like this kick, if you will. I was every NASA post about the Dragon taking off and launch USA, and I was thinking about all the people that are still, fighting out in the streets, or the people that have made like stupid mistakes, or the officers that are trying to do their best to do their job and do the right thing, and those officers that may not you know give a shit as much, and those people that may not give a shit as much, because it's mutual all around. There is no good or bad in this. So anyway, I came up with this hashtag, and I thought it was like, I came up with this hashtag of, instead of launch America, it was hashtag launch police reform. And I was tweeting everybody like I had no fucks to give earlier today, and I was finding like, I was like cherry picking like particular like posts from NASA about with Launch USA, and I even put one of the astronauts, but I wish them well and Godspeed, of course. Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, but what I was trying to do was I was trying to create, or at least in my mind, I was my intention was to create a greater awareness about this, because I'm watching all these posts, and this is a big day. This is a big day for America. This is a big day for aeronautics, of course. But we've had a lot of big days in the past that have gotten ignored. George Floyd is one of those, and then we also have Breonna Taylor, in Kentucky, that was shot down in the middle of the night. At least that's what was reported. Like, and these people didn't do anything that deserved the death penalty. And so, with that mentality, as much as I wanted to celebrate, this special day in space, aeronautical travel with America, I was at odds, because duh, I'm a black man, but at the same time, I'm an earthling. I'm a person. I'm here. I'm here to care, and I'm here to love, and whatever the case may be. So I just went on a rant. Like, every post that I saw was like, well, this is great, but what if we created a what? How to say it? I was just kind of like on a tangent. It was what the fuck? So I was on like this tangent that was like, well, since we finally were able to have the rocket take off into flight, and we're taking off into space, why don't we try taking off in a direction of societal and of society, or changes in our society that would help deconstruct the the racial and social bias that we're experiencing, as an example. Well, I did that in many different ways. Some ways were full of love, but then the more I started to do it, the angrier I got, because no one was paying attention, or I was being so clever with Kelly Clarkson, or I was being so clever with Casey Neistat, and all these other people. And that's the thing, though. I was trying too hard to be clever. My intentions were pure, but the more that my ego started to come into play, the more it started to lose this message. Check it out. This is how the ego works. As I was texting and messaging and scrolling through all the different, Launch America posts today, I decided to contact Legos. I contacted Legos and did the same thing, because they were talking about their new like aeronautics, set, and Lego set. And I don't know shit about Legos. I've never built anything with Legos. I don't know a goddamn thing about Legos. Just be real. And I did the same thing. I did the same exact thing. I said, well, and I didn't even double check it because ego was in the way now. So like any sense of self or any sense of presence was out the window. And so I'm just like, oh, well, this is great too, but why don't you create us? You know, I was kind of being a smart. I was kind of being a smart ass on this one. Now I think about it, I was talking to my wife about it, kind of argued and shit, but I was really being a smart ass with this, and I was like, well, this is great, but why don't we start creating a set that will, or a Lego set that will, paraphrasing, like promote positive change in our society and so on and so forth, and then this guy asked me like, well, what would a set like that look like? I'm genuinely interested, and because my ego stepped in the way of my true dream, I didn't know what to say. And so I like rambled off some shit, and I was just like, "Oh well, you know, it'll be a riot and restore set where you know, like it was stupid. It was stupid. Don't even worry about what what it was. Um, I wasn't proud of myself. I didn't feel good about that. I'm not one to get on social media like that. I'm not one to like boast and all this other type of stuff. So I know my intentions were pure, but I also know that my ego stepped in the way, and it got in the way real bad. It was. I don't feel any shame or guilt from it, but I do know that I need to do better. And so talking with a friend earlier, and talking with my wife, I decided to do this podcast, and so that's what we're gonna do. Um, I'm going to talk about what I want to say, and you take from it what you will. Um, Hopefully, we can engage in some meaningful conversation should the opportunity arise. But I want to say things in a way that, um, to me, it doesn't feel biased. To me, it doesn't feel um, disingenuous. So I want to get that point across. So anything that I mention or talk about or anything like that is open for discussion. I would love to hear a different perspective, but at the same time, it's not interactive, so it's just going to be me talking, and I'm not really used to that. So here we go. So back to the whole Lego portion. Um, Guy asked me, "What would a set like that look like? What would a world like that look like? A world where there was true change. And how could I make that into some Legos? But more importantly, like, what can I do to create a world of change?" And I would create a world of more tolerance, a world of accountability, a world of connection, a world of understanding, a world of empathy. Not a world. It doesn't have to be all kumbaya and sunshine and rainbows and shamrocks and shillelaghs and you know unicorns with rainbows flying out their ass, but um, a world where people get along better. And if there was a riot for whatever reason, whether it's people getting shot down in the street or your sports team winning or losing, which is that's a whole nother bag of potatoes. But whatever the reason may be, if there is an injustice done or if there is something that is um, not right and it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel good, um, we should be able to resolve it in a way that we truly achieve growth. And I think that that's something that we lose touch of. We lose touch of that when we get caught up in the moment, when we get caught up in our ego. Just like I got caught up in my ego on Twitter today. Something I don't ever do. But I felt so strongly about it, and I was so passionate about it. I knew I had to do something, but I spent like 5 6 hours out of the day on Twitter looking and scrolling through people's shit and coming up with these like, you know, puns and all these like different things, and it gets in the way. It gets in the way of being a true agent of change. I mentioned George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, but it goes beyond just them. They're the most impactful right now, but this has been going on for years. It's been going on for decades. It's been going on for generations, eons. 1919. 1919, there was something called, there was a time in America where we experienced something called the Red Summer. It was nicknamed the Red Summer because of whites at the time thought that Negroes or black people were trying to start an uprising in the name of communism. At least that's what the media put out at the time. Because back then, their Twitter was the newspaper, and they had headlines, and that was their clickbait. Seriously, like you look it up on Wikipedia. I know it's not the complete, end all be all for the truth, but it's a start. And you can go on Wikipedia and look up Red Summer happened in 1919, where hundreds of black people were hunted down and killed by whites because they thought that they were trying to start an uprising because of misinformation, because of misguidance, because of conditioning, because of poor judgment. It is what it is. But that same mentality has it's transcended time, and it's transcended generations, and it has evolved and translated into something different now. And now it's a lot more quiet. And now people know how to hide their convictions, or at least they try to hide their convictions more, but then the truth eventually comes out anyway, right? Red Summer 1919 started in Elaine, Arkansas, I believe, where I don't know. I didn't really dig into the story. I really just learned about that this morning, which probably jump started my need to do what I did on Twitter, just telling on myself. And but it started in Elaine, Arkansas, and from what I read, 100 to 250, possibly more, because I mean, when you think about how we use data nowadays, we can fudge numbers or we can minimize numbers um, to get whatever type of gain we get out of it. So anyway, like 100 to 250 black people just in the town of Elaine, Arkansas, were hunted down and murdered by what was perceived as violence of white supremacist terrorists. Washington, D.C., Chicago. I believe in Washington, D.C., it was like 58 blacks were killed, and then 35 blacks were killed in Chicago. But aside from that, there was a mentality going around that these group of people were trying to take something. They were trying to destroy something. And just so it doesn't seem like I'm one-sided, back in Elaine, Arkansas, there were 100 to 250 black people that were killed, but there were 5 whites that were killed. So lives were lost on that end too. I definitely want to put perspective from both sides. But I digress. There were crimes all across the country, hateful crimes. People literally in their cars with shotguns and rifles, ready to hunt down and kill unarmed black people. It's not just about the black and the white thing. And I understand how that's sensitive when you hear it. It's like a hot button. It's like, oh, black and white, black and white. But it's about human versus human above everything. And back then, that was post-emancipation and Jim Crow and all that stuff. But at the same time, people were trying to move in a direction of progress. But I guess the powers that be at the time, after, was it director Griffith's Birth of a Nation and all that stuff, people had more things to be afraid of because of false narratives, because of alternative facts, because of fake news, because someone was trying to push an agenda and they accomplished it. We don't do anything different now, and it's been 100 fucking years. 100 years. It's been almost 100 years, and we do the same thing that we've done before. Aren't you tired? I am. Things should get better. Things will get better. Whether or not people agree with it or not, it's going to change. If it takes 100 years, if it takes 200 years, if it takes 1,000, things are going to change for the better. And the people that want to stay with the status quo and just keep things complacent and keep things in disarray, well, I mean, you'll see a change, and it will change without you. That's the one thing that is consistent in life. Just like I'm going to change today. This is my first time doing this podcast, or this conversation. And I'm going to make changes in how I approach things. I want to make changes for the better. I want to have more conversations with you. I want to be able to have another dream. In the beginning, I said, I want to talk about dreams. And yes, I want to talk about yours. But I also want to talk about how I want this dream to be a reality so that I can move on to the next one. It's not fair what I did to people that were, going through, trying to redirect their focus to something positive by, going through Twitter and what have you. But at the same time, I felt like I had to do it. I just had to do it in a different way. Some were more respectful than others. Like my tweets, don't get me wrong, I just wouldn't walk around like a scathing asshole or nothing like that. But I need to practice being more gentle with myself so that I can be more gentle with others. Because that's what we need. We need to practice being more loving with one another. I'm not saying kumbaya like all day and stuff. But, I mean, if you're racist, you're racist. If you're prejudiced, you're prejudiced. If you're sexist, you're sexist. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not hurting anybody. It's all about being whoever you want to be without having to bring an end to somebody else's life. Can't we practice that more? Do we have to kick somebody's ass if they offend us? Is it that strong? Like, I felt like I had to kick ass on Twitter and be some type of digital social justice warrior. And that's not who I am. I was trying to hurt feelings and make people think. And maybe it did work. And maybe I'm just being too critical of myself. But I'm going to start there. It's actually the first day of realization that I've had in a long time to truly be honest with myself about something that was very important in a way, but I lost touch with it. And I hate what's going on right now. It's causing me to get outside of myself, outside of my true, that sounds self-righteous, but higher purpose. You have a higher purpose too. Whoever you are, whatever you're going through, you're not shit. You're enough. No matter what anybody says or does or thinks about you, doesn't matter. It's about what you think about yourself. I don't really know you. Would love to. Not too shy of a person, but I don't know you. You know you. Just like I know myself. I knew myself enough to confess that little silly petty thing that I did today. But at the same time, I felt like it was right. But it was too much of an attention that I was trying to seek. Not necessarily for me, but just for the injustices that are going on around our country. Who am I to put that type of pressure on my words? I think the most important thing to do is speak with love. And if love is a something that you can't get on with, or it just sounds funny when you hear it, that's fine. Speak with dignity. Speak with purpose. I'm trying to. So, other than that, I guess that's pretty much all I have the time for today. But I did want to say that and truly introduce myself. And thank you for listening. I appreciate every moment that we took. Some stuff I was kind of rambling, some gaps, and so forgive me. It's my first official. I'm gonna call it my first official podcast. I'm gonna call it what it is. First official podcast. So I hope to have more of these. I hope to talk more with you. If you want to reach out to me, my Twitter handle where you can see all my embarrassing tweets is all for one love at twitter.com. I'm trying to find a way to put it somewhere on here, up there, right there. Maybe, I don't know. That might look stupid in editing, but yeah. So you can find me on All For One Love at twitter.com, or you can find me at All For One Love on Instagram. Love to reach out. Love to have that conversation with you. How do you feel about what's going on right now? How do you feel about the launch? How do you feel about the redirection that our media is taking with, how we're reporting what's going on with these riots? I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Honestly. I want to be able to come to a peaceful resolution. Somewhere where everyone can agree and move the fuck on. Like, stop thinking about this shit. Like, I'm tired of thinking about it. I want this dream to come true. That we create a world of equality, move in a positive direction of social change. We just fuck along. We just go on with our lives. We can be who we want to be. We don't have to worry about what people think. So, I keep working for it. And I look forward to hearing from you. So, All For One Love at Twitter, but it's All For One Love with the number 1. All For One Love on Instagram, all spelled out. And, look forward to hearing from you. And thanks again.